right, so now we are into lesson 9. And so lesson 9 is all about representing proportional relationships with equations. So last lesson was more about finding that constant proportionality and using an equation. And then this lesson, we're really focusing in on how to write that equation. So we're going to start with this example of Jackson and his grandfather constructed a model for a birdhouse. Many of their neighbors offered to buy the birdhouses. Jackson decided that building birdhouses could help him earn money for his summer camp, but he is not sure how long it will take him to finish all of the requests for the birdhouses. If Jackson can build 7 birdhouses in 5 hours, write an equation that will allow Jackson to calculate the time it will take him to build any given number of birdhouses, assuming he works at a constant rate. So, first, we're going to decide here, what variables do we want to use? So I'm going to go ahead and say B equals birdhouses, and H will represent the hours that he worked. And so when I'm thinking about this, I have to try and figure out which is my independent and which is my dependent variable. And in this instance, it's a little weird because it can go either way. You can decide that the number of birdhouses could be dependent on how much time Jackson can work, or it could be the amount of time he works could depend on how many birdhouses he makes. But we're really going to want to think about, okay, how are we going to decide our constant of proportionality here? We could think of it as 7 birdhouses over 5 hours. So how many birdhouses he can make in 1 hour, if we divided that out to find that constant of proportionality. So if we went that way, it'd be 7 divided by 5, which would equal 1.4. So he would build 1.4 birdhouses in 1 hour. But there's a problem with that. Is anyone going to want to buy 1/4 of a birdhouse? I don't think so. So we probably should think about it the other way around. So that's just not going to work. We're going to need to figure out how long it would take Jackson to make 1 whole birdhouse. So we're going to go ahead and put the 5 hours over, or the 5 hours over 7 birdhouses, and then we'll calculate that, which 5 divided by 7. So it takes him about 7/10 of an hour to make 1 birdhouse. But we're just going to leave it as the 5/7 so that we get more of an exact answer as we do equations. So then as I'm making my equation, it's going to have to be that we're going to have to figure out hours because we decided that we need the 5/7. So let's go ahead and erase this. We're going to have to figure out how many hours it takes him. Hours equals constant proportionality that we just discovered, 5 over 7. We don't have any other numbers to compare to. We are just using that constant proportionality because it says assuming he works at a constant rate. So we're just going to go ahead and say, yep, he works at a constant rate. And so he can build how many birdhouses with this amount of time. And so this, if we plug in a number of birdhouses, it will give us how many hours it took. So we're going to go ahead and do that in B. So how many birdhouses can Jackson build in 40 hours? So we're given hours. Hours is equals 40. And it takes 5/7 of an hour to make 1 birdhouse. Well, we're going to have to get rid of that 5/7. That's kind of tricky, huh? So we're going to have to multiply by the reciprocal. So 7/5 to get rid of that, multiply by 7. 7/5. That fraction just really kind of confuses things. So now we're going to go ahead, and the easiest way to do that on a calculator, let me pull mine up again, would be to go 7 times 40, and then we'll divide that by 5. And so it would take 40 hours for Jackson to build 56 birdhouses. All right. What about this next one? How long will it take Jackson to build 35 birdhouses? So now we have birdhouses and not hours. So hours is unknown still. Times 5/7. And we need to multiply that by the 35 for the birdhouses. So go ahead and do 5 times 35. And that will be 175 divided by 7. So it would take him 25 hours to build 35 birdhouses. So then we're going to go ahead and just do that last one more time. So what about 71 birdhouses? Hours equals 5/7 times 71. Go ahead and plug that in your calculator. 71 times 5. 355 divided by 7. You guys, I'm getting that by, when you do it, it is 355 over 7. And so then you just divide that down one more time. So that would take him 50.7 hours to build 71 birdhouses. So we'll go ahead and use this application in the following problems.